How many people have actually heard of Lean Startup? A fair number of you. I'm going to jumpstart this by jumping right into what is a lean startup. The phrase comes from the word lean, which describes the way Toyota was building cars in the 50s. And you're creating value. You have value-add activities, assembling the parts of a car. And you want to make those as efficient as possible. And then you have non-value-add activities. Maybe you're forklifting parts from one side of the warehouse to another. And you want to get rid of as many of those as possible. Some are maybe necessary. But it's all in the production of value. So keeping the value is important. So some people criticize the American automobile industry for going and watching the way the Japanese were doing it and then decided that we needed a bunch of robots. And so they came and they implemented robots and let some people go and increased efficiency, increased productivity, but according to some, actually destroyed a little bit of value in that. That may be what was desired, but it wouldn't be lean. Now the difference, when you come to a lean startup, the startups actually don't know the value that they're creating and they don't know for whom. They think they know. They maybe write a business plan that documents what they think they know, but until there's been a transaction in the marketplace, they don't actually know. Thank you. So, what four-letter word kills innovation? Fear. So when I travel around the world, what I hear most often is, oh, our culture doesn't support failing. We have a fear of failure here, or inside of large businesses. We're not structured around failure. We can't handle it. We don't compensate it, right? You're not motivating people to fail. And yet this is at the heart of being an entrepreneur, is getting over this fear of failure. And it's sort of interesting to me because you actually usually like what you do well. And actually, human beings are failure machines. We're great at failure. We're extraordinarily adaptive, but we fail all the time. You, by definition, you fail until you succeed. Once you succeed, you don't keep doing that again, right? You've already succeeded. When we first start to walk, when we first start to talk, when we first try to ride a bike, we fail, and we keep trying. The scientific method is about running experiments, about failing until we succeed. So we should get over this fear of failure, embrace it, because we actually do it really well. There are three people, though, that don't have to worry about failure. Three types of people, I'll say. One are quitters. We don't have to, if you quit, you actually aren't ever going to fail, right? The second would be so-called experts. And what we do in America with experts is we actually put them on radio stations or on TV. We call them pundits. They actually describe very well the past, but they're horrible about predicting the future. Yet, they actually don't have to pay for their failure. We continue to pay for them to predict the future in a poor way. And the last one are visionaries. And the reason why we don't have to worry about the visionary is because it's actually a myth. These people that, they're always in a garage tinkering. For some reason, it's always tinkering in a garage, and they have this, this eureka moment, and out comes the product idea, right? And so then they must go build the product. 2 years of engineering, build the product as I've envisioned it. Hire my salespeople, hire my marketing people, hire my PR people, do a big launch, and then crickets. Visionaries actually aren't people that predict the future either. Visionaries are people that relentlessly pursue the change they want to see in the world. Vision is important. You rally your team around the vision. We're going to go conquer this hill. But the true visionaries are the ones that listen to the marketplace and actually change their vision in order to achieve the change that they'd like to see. So 3 groups that don't have to deal with failure. The rest of us have to deal with failure. And the backdrop to all of this, the reason why this exists, I think, is the innovation continuum. So Clayton Christensen in the innovator's dilemma, coined the term sustaining innovation, disruptive innovation, and it's really the backdrop to all of this lean startup stuff. So big companies exist over on the sustaining side. Known market, known problems, known solutions. This is where the large market is. This is where your margins are. Everybody actually wants to be a sustaining company. It means you've achieved success. It is not a pejorative. Clayton Christensen uses hard drives as an example because there was tons of data on hard drives. Got a 5.25-inch drive, holds 10 megabytes of data. You're selling hundreds of thousands of them, $350, $400 a piece. You're a product manager, maybe a business unit manager. You can do real innovation, incremental innovation, new processes, new technology, double the capacity. I've got a 20 megabyte hard drive, still fits in this 5.25-inch form factor. As a product manager or a salesperson, drive out to those same customers, talk to your IT manager. Oh, would you like to double the capacity? Yeah, I'm just about out of space. Oh, you paid $300 for them? Yeah, that's about what I paid last year. That's fine. Send me 1,000. You can go back and build a business case for investing in the incremental innovation, and you know what your return on the investment is. Disruptive side is completely the opposite. Market is not known. Problem is not well understood. Solutions are not well understood. Startup comes up with a new hard drive, holds 20 megabytes of data in a 3.5-inch form factor. Well, that's pretty cool. Hey, what do you think about my neat technology? I squeezed it all the way into 3.5 inches. Brings it out to that same IT manager. IT manager shakes his head, says it looks like a paperweight. I'll never buy them. You've wasted my time. Please leave. I will never buy those hard drives. They don't make any sense. A year later, that IT manager is sporting 1,000 laptops in the field, and he's buying 1,000 of those hard drives. You actually can't build a business case on it because the customer doesn't even know. The customer doesn't understand. You can't just go ask the customer, would you like this? How much would you be willing to pay? The business practices on the sustaining side are different than the business practices on the disruptive side. This is the innovator's dilemma. We've optimized our company for executing in a known market, and so we can't do this disruptive stuff anymore. And over here, up until the lean startup stuff, up until Steve Blank and Eric Ries started customer development, that's how we taught startups. We told you to go write a business plan. People still write business plans for startups here. I mean, if you do, you're a fiction writer. If you haven't had a transaction in the marketplace, you don't know. But so we used to teach startups, operate like a big business. But as Steve Blank famously says, startup is not a small version of a big company. But so this is the innovator's dilemma for the large enterprise. It's also the innovator's dilemma for ecosystems, for startup ecosystems, because we tend to go and treat the startup ecosystem as if it's a big business. I was traveling to Kuala Lumpur. I was on a plane. They were having a big conference there, talking about how to rejuvenate their economy. How do they do innovation? How do they create an innovation economy? There was a former CIA agent, sitting next to me on the plane. He was going to speak at this Kuala Lumpur conference. I was like, what does he know about startups? Not much, turns out. But so what we need to think about doing, enterprises are optimized for execution, but new growth requires innovation, and you can't execute your way towards innovation. Okay, as if that weren't hard enough, we actually do live in kind of a scary world. Stuff is changing crazily fast. That was a GIF, it doesn't work. Too bad. That was kind of cool. Competition is fierce. Zombies are crawling up the walls. People got to move at the speed of Twitter. I hear this in large enterprises. We have to move at the speed of Twitter. Okay, what does that mean exactly? I don't know. But it's a pretty scary world. So what are these large enterprises to do? Enter lean startup. This is what we teach. Execute on the known, search on the unknown. Optimize your business until you No, you're optimizing for learning. So the lean startup is elimination of waste while learning what value you are creating and for whom. So how do we do that? Well, it's part art, part science. There's the art of innovation, the art of inspiration, the creative ideas, and then we apply the rigor of science, running experiments. So how do you do it inside of your enterprise? Well, it's the hero's journey. You recognize this as the Joseph Campbell. You're called to adventure. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to make change in the world. I want to be a visionary. You run an experiment. So what type of experiment are we talking about? There's all sorts of stories about these crazy experiments entrepreneurs have run. So I was just telling one earlier today, Zappos wants to figure out if you can sell shoes online back in 98, 99. So buying shoes online seems easy now, but back then, would people buy shoes online? It's really important for people to know if their shoes look good and what size they are. Will they buy them online? So the Zappos founders builds a website. He doesn't go source shoes. He walks down the street, goes into a shoe store, takes pictures of the shoes, goes back to his office, loads the pictures up into the website, and waits. Somebody buys a pair of shoes. He walks back down to the store, buys the pairs of shoes, ships them to the customer. Bill Gross in Orange County did that with cars. Proving it, right? So you're running an experiment to validate that your idea has legs before you spend the millions of dollars or the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this works with any business. This works with security. It works with life sciences because it's all about the elimination of waste. If you know, you execute. If you don't know, what are some experiments that we can run in order to validate whether our assumptions are true? And in your process, if you're trying to implement this inside of a large enterprise, you're doing the same thing. You're running experiments. You're having small wins. Your bosses are still measured based on return on investment, so it's sort of a tough slog that you have to go through in order to teach them how to use validated learning instead of just return on investment. So as you have your first successes and then you have to learn the processes, so you're meeting with your mentors in Joseph Campbell's parlance. Then you're finding your friends and your allies, the other people inside of your organization that are perhaps agile programmers or design thinkers, people that have been doing this a little bit on their own already. And you find leaders that actually want to do this sort of innovation because they want to become more disruptive. They don't want to do just incremental innovation. And then hopefully you have a big win where you're actually able to show that, hey, we've got all of these customers engaged in this new product. Even though we're not generating a lot of revenue, even though we're not generating our costs, we're able to measure our customer satisfaction and our customer passion in this new endeavor. And then in the end, what you're hoping for is organizational transformation where you've created this culture of innovation where employees are empowered to run experiments. They're empowered to discover and create new value for both existing customers and new customers. So inside of a startup ecosystem, it's the same thing. You teach your startups how to run experiments so they can discover new value. And this is actually, in the end, how your society benefits. Society benefits when we create new value. The price of value actually comes down, and we're able to then extend it to more people. So this is why innovation economies are so important. And in the end, what we're hoping for is more disruptive innovation. So why should you take this on? Company needs you to be more innovative. Your economy needs you to create more jobs. Jobs don't come from large businesses, and jobs don't come from small businesses. Large businesses tend to shed as many as they create. Small businesses aren't trying to scale, so they usually don't have very many employees. They're capped very early. But the Kauffman Foundation and others have found that what really causes an increase in jobs are scaling startups. So this is why we want to separate out small businesses from scalable startups. So this could be hugely rewarding to you as an individual. You're not in pursuit of wealth, but oh, by the way, if you're able to create tremendous amounts of value, you'll also create wealth. But it's empowering, it's inspiring to yourself. It's a funner life to lead than slogging away at the job. So this is why we try to find these entrepreneurs inside these large businesses who actually want to move those companies forward. And it's the same thing in a startup ecosystem. So this is my call to you, if you would like. Your call to adventure, if you want to implement these processes both in your startup or in your enterprise, you can go to, you can't really read it. I can't even read it. bcoop.co/leap-journey to begin your journey into becoming a lean entrepreneur. Thank you very much.